Hey guys, it's Julie here. You might not recognize me without my glasses, but there was a horrible glare on them and I look like an alien. I've done this 3 times already. So we're just going to leave the glasses off and recap what we talked about last week. Which is probably good because now I can't see myself talking to you. We talked about Joshua last week, and we talked about waiting, because we've all had seasons of waiting, and it's not easy. And how do you wait, and how do you prepare for the next season when you're not really sure what you're preparing for, or you're not sure what you're waiting for? You know what the next season is, but you're still here. You're stuck where you know you're done and you're not sure about the next season. So we talked a little bit about that. And in Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 9, it talks about how God told Joshua, listen, Moses is dead. That season is over. And then he asked Joshua to get ready. Because you're going to take this nation of Israel, waving my glasses at you. You're going to take this nation of Israel across the Jordan River and into the promised land. And when God told Joshua to get ready, he knew he could handle it because he was already ready. And we talked about his service as Moses' aide for 40 plus years, all the years in the wilderness. And we talked about how when Moses in Exodus 17 said, hey, Joshua, go get some men and fight these Amalekites, and I'm going to go stand on this hill. Joshua didn't question that. He said, okay. He showed up. He was faithful. He was ready. And so we talked too in Exodus 33 how Moses had this tent of meeting, and he and Joshua would go in there from time to time, and the presence of God in the pillar of cloud would come down and be at the entrance. And it said God would talk to Moses face to face as a friend. And Joshua was in there witnessing this. He didn't have the Bible to get to know the character of God like we do. He had God. And so even when Moses would leave that tent, Joshua would stay and he would linger. And he knew and he learned the character of God by watching his leader speak with God and by watching his leader serve and actually being in the presence of God. So that was kind of cool. And in those ways, the showing up to serve, to fight, the saying yes, and spending time in the presence of God, all of that prepared Joshua so that when God said, get ready, he said, okay, here we go. And so we talked about our seasons of waiting. We talked about me, how I didn't know that God was preparing me to lead worship in this season over the last 26 years of leading worship. And really, as I was studying Joshua, I'm like, how am I going to relate this to real life as part of my story? And then I thought, I've been leading worship for 26 years, and the last 3 years ago, God said, okay, let's go. And I just showed up and said yes, because I kept showing up for 26 years. But everybody's waiting is different. You may be sitting in the hospital waiting room during this season. You may be resting. You may be in a season of rest. You may be in a season of mourning. You may be building relationships and new friendships that are going to carry you through to the next season. Whatever your season is, you may be raising children. God is using your faithfulness. If you're willing to show up and say yes, He's using that and preparing you for the next season. I promise. We want to know, like I said, the next 10 years, and God says, be faithful with these 10 minutes. And, Joshua, we also talked about our season of waiting, our service, our surrender. It's not about us. Joshua had to lead 1.2 million, approximately, Israelites from the wilderness to the promised land, across the Jordan River that was in flood stage. And it's not an easy task. 1.2 million. You don't have a megaphone. You don't have microphones. You don't have cell phones to text everybody and say, hey, get in line. But Joshua's service and his leadership, it still wasn't about him. It wasn't to glorify Joshua as this great leader. We get to read about him in the Bible, but his service and his surrender was about fulfilling God's promise to the Israelites. That's it. Our service and our surrender is about fulfilling God's promise. And we may not see the outcome. Moses didn't get to go into the promised land, but he had worked towards that promise. And Joshua, who Moses led and taught, got to lead the Israelites to the promised land. So just keep showing up. Keep saying yes. God's not going to waste anything. Whether you're sweeping the floors or you're washing dishes or you're raising kids or leading thousands of people to Jesus every day. Nothing is wasted. So I can't wait to see you guys next week. We've got something fun. I'm ready. I'm excited. I think that you're going to love it. We've got couple great speakers lined up. And I can't wait for you guys to hear them. Just keep showing up, girls. I love you.